Ross, can we start with you? Have you caught up with Nat Fyfe this morning to see how he is?
No, he texted me and just say good day and said I'm progressing pretty well, but I understand there's been huge focus on Nathan with his concussion. So there's clear mandated AFL process and protocol to step through. Our medical team are all over that, and I'm certain that they'll progress throughout the week. So spoke to him after the game twice. He was in pretty good spirits, really. Yesterday was the player's day off. He slept well, felt pretty good. But really, you need to be symptom-free and then undergo the SCAT test and pass that. So as we jump through those hoops, we'll know more then, but that's basically all I've got for you.
Even if he passes those tests, what's the duty of the care of the club and the coach for your player?
Well, certainly as coach, I defer to the experts. So I wouldn't say I have any particular duty of care. We defer to the experts, and that's certainly our medical team and a clear process. Understand it's a hot topic and throughout world sport, and everyone's going to have their opinion, and there's a lot of arbitrary views being thrown around depending on your personal circumstance. But I'm not here to engage those, but I'll just defer to the experts and the protocol and back that in. So that's where it sits for me.
So he'll only have the cold test if he doesn't show any symptoms, but have you seen him show any symptoms since Sunday?
So I didn't hear
He'll
the
only
start.
have the cold test if he doesn't show lasting symptoms from the concussion on Sunday. So do you know if he's shown any symptoms at this stage?
Yeah, as I said, I saw him Sunday. I was speaking to him, clearly he had some symptoms then. I haven't seen him. He texted me this morning, and we'll step through that process.
Have you got a feel at all, Ross, if he's any chance for Saturday?
Pardon?
Have you got a feel at all?
No, feelings are just feelings, aren't they? I don't know what you do with them. I mean, my feeling is I got genuine care, as everyone has, for Nathan and all of our players. So, but it's really dangerous for me to put my fingerprints anywhere near this, because it's not. I'm no expert, and clear mandated process and protocol that we'll step through with the players' best interests. So no one likes to see anyone get hurt from any opposition, no matter what it is. So, but yeah, as I said, he was in good spirits after the game, and we need to let it unfold. You know, can't speed it up, can't slow it down for you. So that's where it sits.
It's a better for you now as a coach that it isn't in your hands. You don't have to make decisions; you just get told, rather than the times when it used to be a bit more.
Well, I'm not aware of those times. Ever since I've been involved, it's always been the doctor's call. So I'm unaware of a period of time where it was a coach's call. Coaches get blamed for a lot.
It's a big game. It's a big game. And there's obviously significant concerns around concussion. Do you even have a chat to him and say, look, to ward off any danger of him trying to put himself up too soon at all?
Well, it's not about putting yourself up. It's either a yes or no answer. It's binary.
So he doesn't have any input. It's just straight up what medical.
Well, clearly, at the end of the day, it's the player's final decision. But it's binary, yes or no, whether you're available, and then the player can make the final call, as they always do.
Ross, what did you make of Peter Jess's comments that anyone who suffers concussion should be ruled out for 19 days?
First I've heard of him, Sunday night. It was a very tight game. Went home, had dinner, went to bed, got up, did the review, picked my daughter up from netball, went into work this morning. I haven't watched today's show. I read a paper.
And no doubt would be a boost for you guys, I guess. Do you wait?
I think we've dealt with that question. I mean, obviously, it's a medical issue, and if he's available, he's available. If he's not, he won't be. So I think we're pretty clear about the coaches as a collective where we stand with it. It's out of our hands. So whether I'd like him to play or not is irrelevant.
Star player, how does it change your thinking during the week? How much does Nat Fyfe come up during the week in your preparations for the game?
Well, look, if you look at Fremantle as a whole and what they've done, in particular this year, which is what we're looking at, is they've had pretty good resilience, especially in the second half on the weekend, to stand up how they did. So we've both had one poor game and two good games, the way I've seen it. So, yeah, good challenge for us. They've got some exceptional talent, got some good mature players coming to the side as well. So we're aware of their strengths and their individual brilliance.
how much have your preparations changed compared to last year, when considering this Freo team's changed so much?
Well, we won't look at last year. We never do. So difficult for us as a coaching group, as it is from all coaches, to scout Oppo from pre-season games and the new rules. And yeah, we got caught on the hop very early in the season with Brisbane in particular. So a bit more evidence now with teams and how they play. I'm sure Ross is saying the same about us. The last few weeks that we'll look at those games in terms of scouting Oppo.
What sort of tweaks are you making in terms of the 666 rule that you have to change in the first 3 games?
Well, that's evolving. It's difficult for our coaches to do too much with the start of the centre bounce in terms of support. So we're an average team at the moment, out of the middle. Fremantle are a good side in that space. So we're evolving. So we're not probably where we need to be just yet, but we're not conceding too many goals from centre bounces. We're not kicking goals, so it's a pretty neutral sort of position for us. But how the play unfolds 20, 30 seconds after a centre bounce is interesting. But I think it's all settling down a little bit.
Ross, what can you tell us about what your midfield would look like without Nat?
It's a good question. We're finishing our review today and then turn my mind to selection. We put Reece Conker through there. Andy Brayshaw was on a different role on the weekend, but he went back in. So, you know, Mitch Croden played really well in the seconds, and Gyro. We've got to look within the team and the flexibility within that. So, I mean, it is next man in, but we also understand he's our captain. But if you look to the benchmark, and there's no mind games. Clearly, West Coast are the reigning premier, and they did it on the back of huge resilience, losing some quality players, you know, in grand final day. So no Gaff, no Shepherd. So the benchmark is there, what you need to be able to do. And we spoke about that at 3/4 time, that we need to demonstrate, you know, strong effort, not only for Nathan, but without Nathan, to our fans and members, and we felt we did that. So we'll get to selection and we'll look at that. And it's a weight of numbers performance. Yeah? It's not going to be about one person. We need everyone playing well. We're a developing team. They're the benchmark of the competition. They've got huge resilience that's being demonstrated to be able to go into state and perform incredibly well. So it's a really good test for us, a really good measure, as every game is. And, you know, there's a lot of focus because it's the derby and, you know, hometown rivalry. So, but once the ball's bounced, it's really about trying to execute, you know, your effort and your mechanics as best you can and see where that takes you.
Had a few injuries with your midfield, and obviously Lockie leaving as well. With Nat now in that situation, also not available. Is the midfield been your greatest challenge so far this season?
Yeah, flagged that over the summer, you know, sort of. Yeah, certainly Lockie left, he was playing really well, but, you know, the balance of what has come in with Hogan contributed strongly on the weekend, Conker contributed, Rory Lobb contributed. You know, his last quarter was magnificent, and Travis Collier has been really important as well. So on balance, it's been good for us, and it's been good for Brisbane. So we can all acknowledge that and move on. But again, the midfield, it's generally won and lost in there. There's a lot of noise around Collingwood and West Coast, and the West Coast midfield is getting it done. So it protects your defence and gives opportunities. So, you know, kind of Blakely and Hill out, but there's certainly opportunities. Everyone gets to grow, you know. Maybe Cherry goes through there on the weekend.
On Hogan, Ross, do you want to settle him forward, or you used him in the midfield in round 2? Is he an option potentially, as a big body, to go through the middle if Fife doesn't get up?
He's an option, but he's played 2 games. He started forward, we needed a lift, he gave us that. On the weekend he was predominantly, well, he was forward the whole game, so that's reasonably settled. And I thought he impacted, you know, he's been selfless, and it takes time to build a chemistry. You know, if you know, Kennedy's a 31-year player with those midfields, so, you know, it takes time to build that up. And Jesse's going to be judged over 7 or 8 years, you know. We've spoken about, I'm sure when Judd went, I don't think all the Western Australian media was thrilled, and a young Kennedy comes through the door. So, but 7 years later, you think it's a deal of a lifetime. So let's give it the fullness of time to make a judgment here. We're thrilled with his contribution, and we think it'll only get better.
Is he handling the pressure, Ross? He had a bit of a fit of the fumbles throughout the game.
Along with about 21 others. Yeah.
Are you happy with how he's handling the expectations that come with him being a high prize recruit?
Well, everyone's a prize recruit. We value everyone that comes in, and it's a high performance industry, and it's coaches. It's what you sign up for. Criticism is all part of it, and Jesse understands that. And what you work to is create an environment where they can relax and they can work, but understand that we all get judged, and Jesse's a part of that. So yeah, I would think he's fine.
Sean Darcy, will he put his hand up for selection?
Yeah, he'll need to jump through some hoops, but yeah, I think he'll be available. Yeah.
Back to two rucks then, is it as simple as saying?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure it's as simple as that. Obviously, the way they play with the big guys, it's certainly a consideration. So, but you trade off some mobility for that, so we'll have to have a look at it.
Adam Liam-Duggan looked like he moved okay at training. Is it a matter of him coming in if he's 100%, or is there no need to make a change?
No, if he gets through training, he'll play. So he's an important player for us. I know we got to debut Josh Rotham, and I thought he held his end up pretty well. But if Liam's available, we'll play him. So he trained today. We'll see how he pulls up. He's not quite there yet, but yeah, if he's available, we'll play him.
Nick looks like he's making some great steps in his recovery. I think
Yeah.
you said on radio you will know in 2 weeks when he will be due to come back.
I've been pressuring the medicos to give me a return to play date, which they've been holding off a little bit. So the next week or so, we'll sit down and work out a plan. Pretty much ready for a pre-season now in terms of training and getting into full contact and jumping and all those things. So how long that takes, how we introduce him back into the senior side, when all that happens, we'll find out in the next couple of weeks.
Is it complex around the bye if he comes back before the bye?
I don't know. I suspect that'll be part of it, but you know, whether we play at Waffle level or we get him straight back in, that's up for debate.
There was some talk that he could potentially come back for Swan Districts reserves.
Was that from Swan Districts?
Is that a possibility, or is it not?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
A lot of people are saying you guys are the benchmark at the moment. Obviously, 4 games ago you won a premiership.
Yeah.
How happy are you with how you're travelling at the moment?
Look, it's interesting because 2 weeks ago we weren't. So this time of year, it happens every year. So I think we need to establish another 3 or 4 or 5 games before we know where we're really at. We had a really good win on the weekend. We played well. We were resilient. We played a very good side, but the evidence, we think the evidence is there, but the consistency is probably not. So we need to see where we're at probably another 3 or 4 weeks. And this is another week to see if we can stand up with how we play against a side who's on the same amount of wins. So we're pretty balanced with our approach. We're not getting ahead of ourselves and we're not underselling ourselves either. It just is what it is at the moment. And like I said, we'll find out where we're at probably in 3 or 4 weeks.
Last derby was obviously tense. Do you feel that the reaction from both Andrews and how they've handled it has helped to ease the tensions?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think both clubs have handled it pretty well. In particular this year, I'm putting Andrew up early in around the pre-season, getting both Andrews to play against each other. Shaking hands before the game was well, I think it was their idea, unless it was yours. The way they've handled it, the way that both clubs have handled it, I think we're ready to move on. Whether our supporters are ready, that'll be interesting, but I think both clubs have moved on and handled it pretty well.
It's your home game. What would your message be for the supporters in terms of how they handle it?
Just let them play. But, you know, I think we've well and truly moved on. We know that our Andrew was in the wrong. He's paid his dues, and now we get on with playing footy, and I think that's the way he wants to handle it.
You hope your small pocket of supporters, Ross, also feel the same way, that they can move on?
Well, we can all try and reprise it. You know, no reward for looking backward. They're both fine young men. One's become a great player, and the other one's trying to become a great player. So, yeah, it's all dead and buried. You know, the only thing that counts is the first bounce and the next moment. So,
quite an incredible return from Gaffey, though, and he was just walking around at training today. Obviously, a little sore after his first game in 8 months of footy.
Yeah. He always looks sore during the week, and then he seems to come up and do what he does. So, yeah, look, he's been hanging out for a while. So I think to get a touch early to contribute, the role was the same as it was in the past. So, you know, I think that would have felt pretty familiar. His teammates are the same. So, yeah, and last time he played at the G, he played pretty well as well. So we try to make it as comfortable as we possibly could, but in the end he gets out and gets it done, and that's why he's an A-grade talent, and we've missed him, and it's good to have him back.
Were you surprised by the reaction from Collingwood fans on the weekend, considering they're neither Fremantle or Eagles?
No, not really. And they were booing Dom Sheed as well. So I think that's the booing. Boys are pretty resilient, so that comes and goes, and by the time he had his 35th possession, they stopped.
Ross, does Gaff need a minder in the game, or is there just too many stars in that midfield to...
No, it's a good discussion. I think it was. It's a topic, isn't it? Like both grand final teams have someone go to someone. Hutchings, admired what he's done. He's flexible, can move around. So, yeah, it's something to consider. We sort of really haven't employed a real tight check and go with. So, which has been good for us. But I don't mind the Blight philosophy. Just let it unfold, and if someone's hurting, you can tighten up on someone. Maybe go that way. But look, he's a sublime talent, So, and then you can't get where they've got to without having an A-grade midfield. So they just get it done, and like Andy Brayshaw gets to learn and play against those, and Darcy Tucker 4th year. So it takes time, and they're building up, and but it's a wonderful challenge. You can't sneak around in league football. You can't be a victim. You've got to earn your wins, and we want to stand up. But the only way you get recognised is to knock over the best in the competition. So that's clearly what we're going to try and do.
Wildfield, he did that sort of tagging role last year, and you sort of changed that up a little bit there. Do you need to sort of maybe throw him back into what he was doing really well at the start of last year?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, we probably have a different view on his level of success at doing it than you. So, with respect, so we're not sure it worked for the team. It did in a couple of games. I think he did a good job on Jack Stephen and Zach Merritt, and then not so much on some of the others. So look, he's settling into a half-forward role. He's a young player with challenges and plenty of improvement. But again, we'll get to that. If one thing I do know, unless you get your own game style right and a strong signature, and we're looking to improve all the time. We'll finish do a sharp review. Any learnings trying to implement in training, even though it's a short week, pick a team and compete. So it's just that cycle of, prepare, commit, review and get moving.
Would you ever shy away from throwing Brayshaw to a gaff after what happened last year?
Oh, look, there's plenty of different ways to ask this question. I just think whoever plays on anyone, I don't think it's got any ramification or any link to the past. And they're both ball hunters, so I don't know. They could end up on each other. I don't think there's anything going on here. The families are friends, and it was an unfortunate incident, and surely they'll all get remembered for other things.
Adam, the club's locked away Oscar Allen. You must be really impressed with his start to his AFL career.
Yeah, look, it's probably added to not our issues, but we were a little bit taller again, even more so than last year. So. But we think with what he's providing with his defensive aspect of his game, and 20-year-old having impact, and getting Josh and Kennedy and Darling into the side as well, it's the balance. But he's a young talent. We're really happy with his form, and really, really happy that he signed on for an extra couple of years. So yeah, that's working at the moment. He's spotting the side. He knows what he needs to do to hold his spot. But yeah, we've actually been really happy with our kids in the last couple of years. Petruccelli holding up his end as well, and a few players have been unlucky in the last few weeks as well.
Well, it's been a while since the boys have had a chance to hold up the trophy. Is there a feeling that you've got to win one against these guys soon?
Well, that's the aim.
The game's so professional these days, and I'm sure you guys go to it week in, week out. I mean, is there any talk around the clubs at all that, like, hey, do this weekend, boys, or anything like that?
Well, we haven't, not yet. No. Look, to be honest, I probably made that mistake when I started, thinking it was trying to build it up, and our players, they just do it so much. I think they just get on with it, and I think that's what I've learnt from them. And I dare say Ross has been doing that for a while as well. So we don't. This is great, and it's good for the state, and we lose our home ground advantage this week. Is the way I look at it. And we play a side that's on the same amount of wins as us. So we don't look at it any differently, and our preparation hasn't changed for a couple of years.